Hello, my friends. Welcome to Perfect Practice. Today, I have a dear friend of mine, J.R. Burgess, who's going to be discussing limiting beliefs and how practitioners can overcome their limiting beliefs that are holding them back in their practice, perhaps in their professional life, but also in their personal lives as well. Welcome, J.R. Thanks for tuning in today.
Thank you, Sachin. It's always an honor. You're a true mentor and hero to me, and the work that you're doing is so meaningful to so many. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I received that with an open heart. You've been such a powerful influence in my life. And I'm excited to be sharing you with our audience at Perfect Practice Live. And those of us that are tuned in right now, I'm excited for you to share, some of the things that you've been through and gone through to overcome your limiting beliefs, where that's led you to. And I love how before we hit record, you were sharing how your path has continued to evolve. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit as well. So before we get too into the story, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and where your journey started?
Well, my journey started as a young child. I was teased really bad in the fifth grade by a teacher, and I really could feel myself dying inside. I had such low self-worth and confidence after it that I didn't even want to go back to school. So sports basically became my outlet to manage my emotions. And I went really deep. It's the only way I could shut off my mind. So I was never the most talented, but I went so deep into outworking, outlearning, and doing everything that I could to become the best that I could be. And that has really shifted as we talked about, what are some of the beliefs and the factors. Sports became my identity in my life, and so much good has came from that. But at the end of the day, I'm in the healthcare industry, and I try to relate context as most people can understand that of what some of the challenges that I see. And it comes down to competition was where I got to where I got. But at the end of the day, I recognized how competition may be what is holding us back in a healthcare industry in all reality. So it's taken to sports as I grew up, beat your other teams that you played. So crosstown rival teams, they may have been my greatest friends if they were on my team, but they became your rivals and your enemies, right? So it took the sport of rugby, where I played D1 rugby, I played college baseball, I played every sport in high school, and it was always beat those other people. And when I played my first rugby game, I was blown away. You still wanted to impose your will and dominate and be the best that you could be, but we hosted a barbecue for the other team.
Mm.
And I was like blown away by this. And we started tapping the keg and drinking beer with them. An hour later, we were drinking beer out of each other's boots and singing these songs. And I thought it was the most crazy thing of all time. But it became a brotherhood. We were all high-fiving. We were all in the game of rugby. So I could go to Europe. I could go to any state right now and call up my rugby friends and have a place to stay without ever knowing them. And
Mm.
what I recognized in my years of integrated healthcare is the MD would say the chiropractor's this or that, or the surgeon would say the MD's this or that. And the personal trainer would say they're CrossFit or they're vegan or they're paleo. And everybody that had this mission of wanting to help each other was calling out everybody else.
Mm.
Versus what I found through the test of times is we need co-opetition and collaboration, because every person has a different belief, budget, or starting place, or a personality that's going to help them. And now I believe that healthcare must let go of ego in order for us to go from competition to co-opetition, because we found with chronic pain and chronic disease, very few people have the ability to do it on their own in the conventional healthcare system if we don't go to an integrative model of care.
Yeah, you bring up a term that many people may not have heard before, and I believe it's a term that you coined, right? Co-opetition, where we're cooperating, but we're talk about that competition part of that. How do we reframe competition so people see it through the lens that you get to see it through?
So I call it an evaluation. That's what we as doctors, as practitioners do, is we evaluate and we examine. So if we look at the statistics in general, we have failed when it has came to chronic pain and chronic disease. So at the end of the day, if we want a better healthcare system, every human and system's perfectly designed for the results that it produces. So we must change. So if I was amazing at whatever I did, then I would be able to solve everybody's problems that came through. And very few of us maybe have the abilities to solve all that for our patients.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at collaboration, maybe that you as a practitioner can inspire or motivate and move your patient to taking self-responsibility, which is a big important component that I know you teach. You're the doctor of the future. How do we empower that patient to really own what they could do? But now how do we use these amazing evaluations and tests and labs or technology to where the practitioner can do one element of it? And then ultimately, how do we pass the ball where there's deficiency, whether that's mind, body, spirit, soul? We've heard of all those words. Who can address those components? Because what I've learned, Sachin, is I had 11 stem cell treatments, 13 surgeries, Lyme's disease. And because of how I was traumatized as a child or my heightened emotional experiences, I chased sports. Then it was drugs and alcohol. Then it was work. Then it was all these things. But one pattern after another was continuing to reoccur until I addressed the emotional, spiritual, and energetic components. So after leaving and after being burnt out and having one injury, until I went internally into the deep side, I was going to continue to show up or repeat generational traumas and patterns in my children's life. And I've recognized it needs all these areas. So it's evaluate. Where are you not having forgiveness? Are you having reoccurring pain, patterns, or issues that is the current trajectory going to get us there? Are we progressing towards happiness, joy, love, abundance, and health? If not, who is that next person that can guide us to overcoming some of these challenges?
I love what you said there. And I want to backtrack a little bit because what you said there is actually really profound. And I want people to hear it again and perhaps with a slightly different perspective of what you said, just so I make sure it lands for them, is that what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm not hearing this correctly, is that a limiting belief for a lot of people could be that they're not enough. And people who have amazing levels of success like yourself still continue to chase the thrills because of that feeling of lack. And it's not until we do that deeper work that we really need to do to feel whole again that we're going to be able to realize the abundant nature and capacity that we have. Is that correct? In
100%. So that is what it became. So being teased at a young age, not having my father there, I'm so thankful for it now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be who I am. But it still showed up in what I would call hiding. So meaning which sports, how do I be the entertainer, become the star? Drugs and alcohol, from shy and feeling reserved and not even being able to speak my truth. Then drugs and alcohol would allow me to express. Working hard, even though I loved impacting and helping other people, became another form of trying to be seen, right? So ultimately, it was the root cause of I didn't feel enough. I didn't feel that love. So it showed up in one form or another until I learned how to, which in many cultures is serve others, right? But if your body battery is not full, then how are you going to show up for your children? How are you going to show up in your energy, in your practice, and in your business with your patients if you are not in love with yourself, if you are not at peace, even though there's elements in those things that we love, but at all times and accessing all that. So the limiting belief is I am love, I am enough, I am safe. And that's what breath work, meditation, psychedelics has been, this rechanging of not understanding how to manage my emotions without striving or achieving or doing all these things, what is missing in the healthcare setting from my perspective. And our goal now is how do we help each healer heal? You're doing that right now through teaching breath work and these self tools that if we don't show up and lead from the front by taking care of ourselves, is that really sustainable and impactful? I had good impact. I had good income. I had good recognition that we were doing great things, but I was burning out. And this practitioner says, I am enough. I am loved. I am safe. So you can have the income, the impact, the 5 freedoms that you're talking about. It starts with each one of us. And I didn't put that as the ultimate priority, even though I was doing some of the things, just not the full things.
I love that. You and I sat on a balcony in Hawaii, staring at the waves, staring at the beautiful rainbows and the whales that were peaking. And I remember having this powerful conversation with you and how the breakthrough started taking place for you. Can you share with us that moment where you realized that I am enough and that, maybe there's something deeper I need to explore? Was there like an aha moment that you had, or how did you come to that realization that it's all these things that I'm chasing, it's because I'm empty over here in this area?
Yeah, it came down to I was having all that success, but I was burning out. I wasn't showing up as the husband and father that I desired. I didn't have my father there, and I missed on that. And my mom had some tragedies as a child, so she was emotionless. Even though she's safe, she protected me. It's just my needs weren't met as a child. So what was the aha moment is I was blaming outwards, that if my wife just accepted that I needed pot to shut my mind down, if my partner would do X, Y, and Z, I was living in an external world. So recognizing that I was burning out, I had to sell my shares. We had a 28,000 square foot center. I had a mastermind. I had a license model that had over 100 locations around the world, but I wasn't showing up as who I was. And you saw me in that tradition as we were doing there, but I didn't know the path. So until I started changing exactly opposite of how I was driven. I was driven to drive and thrive and succeed, but it was killing me. So it took, thankfully, this pandemic to change everything. It took starting with yoga, knowing my body was breaking down and I had chronic pain, to doing some EMDR therapy, to doing breath work, to doing hypnosis, to doing a plant medicine journey that showed me that it was all about me. Even though I had coaches in the outside world telling me, until I saw it, it was a different trajectory. And I don't know that everybody needs all those things. I believe you can get there through breathing and meditation now, because I can access that now in a different way. But maybe I did. Maybe I had too many emotional experiences. I just need a hard wiring. But that's the power of, if somebody's in chronic pain or chronic disease or reoccurring patterns of blaming the external world, nothing's going to change unless you can go inwards and change these perceptions, these beliefs, and these habits to support love, presence, joy, and happiness. And I didn't have all that unless I was doing the things that I loved.
Man, that's so deep, dude.
It is.
Where would you say you are right now in that path? I know it's an ever evolving path. Do you see other things that you still need to work through, or is it clear skies ahead?
Yeah. So it comes down to self, right? You can't blame the outside world for the life that you want. I'm perfectly good there now. And there's radical responsibility beyond the logic, but in the heart. So like heart math, right? So this thing can kind of run the show if I'm right here. So the awareness now is being fully present with the family, not thinking about business or the outcome, even though I love what I do and that was already there. But until I've healed myself, which is now healing the family, they're in happiness, they're in presence, their central nervous systems are in a state of love, presence, or joy, which I didn't create that environment the first, handful of years of our marriage and our children. So that's where the deep work is, before we came on this call, is presence, family, saying no to business and the things that my ego gets really happy with, that I'm having impact or I'm called to change the world. It's a lie. If these people in front of me, what my true calling was to have these beautiful children that are showing love in abundance in the world. That is the work. And when that's present and that's going well, then I can decide whether it is to do more business things or not, because money didn't buy happiness. Impact didn't buy happiness. Significance didn't buy happiness. It's presence, heart, not head, and family that is determining now, do I do anything more in business, which is really easy for me to go to.
I love that. Speaking of heart math, I had a very important decision I needed to make, and it was a very clear yes or no type of response I was going for. And while things can sound great, right, they have to feel right. And I love that you mentioned heart math, because that's the exact tool that I use to ask my heart, is this the right decision? And the first question I asked, is this the right decision for me and my family? And my coherence went up. Then I asked another question, and the answer was no. My coherence came down. I asked another question, and the coherence went skyrocketing up. So you can communicate when you're really tuned in. You can actually communicate to your heart and start following your heart, truly and deeply. And of course, things can sound great, but it's how they make us feel. And if just thinking of something takes us out of coherence, imagine what doing it day after day, month after month, year after year is going to do to our health, versus doing something that just thinking about it puts us into a state of coherence, whether it's hanging out with our kids, or whether it's doing a deal with a certain individual or a company or an organization, or whether it's an opportunity, whatever that opportunity might be, personal or professional. You can tap into your heart math and know what your heart wants you to do, and stay in a state of coherence, and do it within a state of coherence, or in what we would probably describe as a state of love and happiness. So you can actually, make better decisions by tuning into your body. And I love that you're bringing this kind of knowledge to the forefront, right? Because I know that you could talk about Facebook ads. I know you could talk about systems and processes and how to build multi-seven-figure businesses. But this, I can tell, is so important to you. And in fact, more important to you than anything else is how we show up for our practice, for our business, but more importantly, how we show up for ourselves and our family members, because that's who we're going to spend the most amount of time with. And I had a gentle reminder the other day come in that you really only get 18 summers with your children if you're lucky, right? And my little guy, this will be his 11th summer. And after this, there's only, 6 or 7 more left. So I want to make the most of them. And, that's a big thing that we love teaching people is just how to do that. And that's why we're bringing people like you to the stage who have had massive amounts of success personally and professionally, and are now evolving to have success where it truly matters, which is in our personal lives and with amongst our families and friends. So thank you for taking that charge.
Yeah. And I know this is a combo of both. So, this is like I want people to get to know me a little bit before the speaking, because we will go over a handful of things during the event. And one is, I always look at it as the Grand Canyon. They call that the gap, right? And we're on one side, and people understand duality: good, bad, light, dark, Republican, Democrat. So what we'll be going over there is the beliefs on one side of the canyon, the pain that we're faced in there. And for most practitioners, that is, how do I attract and convert my ideal cash paying patients? And on the other side is going to be that you're insurance independent, that you're booked out a couple months with your ideal patient. And there's a handful of beliefs or steps that we have to overcome. We have to get value add education instead of, I don't want to be a marketing or a salesperson, or have an absolute belief that this regenerative, emotional, internal food, that we have the absolute best solution for our patients. And if we're not showing up and doing it and living it, it's going to be difficult to sell that or enroll people into that transformation. So all this self stuff that I'm talking about today is so you can jump into the vehicle of this conversation of connecting with somebody with conviction, certainty, and belief, not manipulation, not sales, just conviction, connection, and belief. And people can't help but say, I want that. And then the next problem is going to be, how do you go from doing everything, having, the marketing, the admin, the support, doing all the things that your practice needs, to doing what you do best on the other side of that. And that may be just being the face of it, doing the treatment plans, the enrollment meetings, or being the CEO, like you're at this point in your life, is showing up as the chief energy officer and building legacy through impactful businesses and having team members that are using their best gifted gifts. That third thing is, how do we go from one-to-one time care to significant impact in the world that is beyond our time? That could be group visits, like Reed Davis is going to be coming in. How do you have health coach so we can go from one-on-one? Maybe you still evaluate, but you're able to have impact beyond just transactional care. You're not selling one regenerative treatment or one functional lab visits or a 3-month program. You're selling the program that's transforming lives, and we evaluate outcome-based healthcare versus transactional healthcare. That's the third limiting belief we're going to get past. And the fourth, which I've alluded to already here, I just want to hopefully maybe show you this is really the place to begin, is you may have all the income, the impact, the energy, but if you are not taking care of yourself, your family, then it's going to show up one area or the other. So I started with limiting belief 4, that we truly can have the doctor of the future mentality for ourselves, the self-love that really generates a serving, loving family, a serving practice of teams that are all on fire to change the world together, that isn't just short-term, but is in infinity impact of possibility.
I love that. This actually reminds me of, as you were speaking, I thought of two people. And I think you'll definitely take this as a compliment. The first one is Wayne Dyer, and the second one is Joe Polish. So Joe Polish always says, "Is the juice worth the squeeze?" Right? And a quote from Wayne Dyer is that, when I squeeze you, whatever's inside you is going to come out of you, right? So if I squeeze an orange, I'm going to get orange juice. If I squeeze an apple, I'm going to get an apple juice. I can't expect the opposite of that. And so when we really work on self-love and emanate love and fill ourselves up with love, then when we get squeezed, we are actually going to emanate love, right? And we're going to push love out in every single direction. And I would say that that's the only juice worth squeezing, right? That's the only fruit worth squeezing, is that where when we are squeezed, pure love comes out of us. And I'm so excited, man. I saw you're wearing an Aura ring. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
I love that. So before we wrap things up, I know you're super busy, but I do have a quick question for you. How have your Aura ring scores changed as you've gone through this transformation? Have you noticed any changes, anything specific you can share?
Yeah, I was in chronic pain for 15 years, had substance, whether it was alcohol, which I gave up 8 years ago, or cannabis that slowed the mind. So since COVID, everything that I mentioned, exosomes, stem cells, yoga, breathing, meditation, psychedelics, microdosing, those have all brought me to, for the first time in 15 years, no pain, no need for any substance. Not that I can't choose to have that if I want to from a connection, a loving standpoint. That's just not right now as I'm going through this. But what I really want to say is I was going through this for me, right? But I still had conditions, which I'm learning how to let go of in my family structure. Like I felt that I was the provider, right? That's my job. And my wife being the stay-at-home mom, that, how does she help me? And we were disconnected at points in our marriage. And because I wasn't feeding her love language, which was quality time and to communicate, I was so busy doing all this stuff. So this next rendition was, even as I was going through this journey, I still wasn't quite there with her, right? So it was just like, sex is how I felt connected with my wife and in that love. So that was kind of that, can we have it twice a week, where I wasn't feeding her love. So going through these journeys, I found that I had to allow her to heal, which was complete celibacy. So I could give her the opportunity to feel like she didn't have to make love to me to keep our marriage going down, as I wasn't at my best version of myself, and truly killing my ego, slaying that dragon. And even as I watch, if somebody's into watching things, Joseph Campbell's, as I've gone through these experiences of just seeing the world on a different level, it's like, wow, I've just slayed my ego. And I want to finish with a quick exercise, if that's okay, of what helps me stay present and grounded, that one of my mentors told me of how I can really know if I'm in my heart and ego. Even if you're not doing heart math, if not, get that amazing tool, because it's a game changer. But this is oneness, right? So if you can fold your hands together and truly visualize gratitude, love, appreciation, abundance, thankful that we're alive today, that we can really take that breath, which I move so fast sometimes I wasn't able to do that, but really breathing in life and love. And that's oneness. And at the same time, this is a tool to determine if you're coming out of it at times. So go ahead and uncross your hand, please, Sachin, and keep the palms of your hands together. If you're in a state, well, if COVID didn't happen, if my father would have been there, my partner, if they didn't do X, Y, and Z to me. On the left-hand side, that's called the past. On the right-hand side, if you're thinking, well, when I have 500 locations, or when I'm making 7 figures, or when I have that house, then I'll be happy. That is the future. Anytime we're in the past or the future, we are in our ego. So that's just the V right here. So notice that that isn't going to serve you in your highest calling in nature and being. And you may hear of manifestation. There's nothing wrong with being in your heart, visualizing. So now it's just like visualizing that I've already had it. I can't wait to be with my family on top of the mountain, just like I was in Costa Rica the last 10 days. This is the life that I want, pure connected, pure presence. And I have that right now as I'm in my heart and in this moment. And my family is now going to experience that. And we're doing the things that I'm already having impact by just being here today with myself, with my love. And that's showing up in my practice, in my world. And lives are changing because of the presence and love and joy I show them within every single moment. That's what we call manifestation in actualization, in your heart and in that coherence. Is these hands become magnets when you're in that vibration, that energy. And since these things have been happening, it's unbelievable of how my life is showing up in different ways of not will my wife change, not will this happen in business. We already all have it. The presence, love, and abundance and gratitude and thanks is right here, right now. And when you're in that state, you're going to be shocked when you show up in your patient exam rooms and in your team members and in your families and in your parents. It's not, let me try to fix my parents. They're going to start asking you, what are you doing? How do I learn more? And it's no more trying to heal, fix, or get there. It's all coming as I continue to take care of myself and be in my heart and presence, that it's unfolding how I always desired and dreamed. So I know we went a little woo here, Sachin, today. I will get more tactical in the event here, but this has really showed up in life. Even though life was good and we were on the balcony a year ago, it's really becoming the life I fully dreamed of because of the love of my heart and now the love of the family and others.
Well, brother, this is my jam right here. And I love that you infuse this type of enthusiasm, this type of wisdom into your business and into the services that you provide to the world. But more importantly, I love that your family gets the best version of you. Your wife gets the best version of you. And to me, that just truly fills my heart. And you've taught me so much today. And I continue to learn from you. And I just want to thank you for being such a beacon of light for other practitioners out there to step into that part of themselves. You know, as practitioners, I think we get overly logical. That's how we're conditioned. That's how we're chosen, right? To be in these professions that we're in. And yes, the logic is very important, but I would say the heart is the most important. And, you know, sometimes people like yourself and myself have to go through success, hardships, right? The golden handcuffs, so to speak, in order to have that revelation. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you realize it, you want to keep realizing it and bringing that to the forefront. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and send my love to your beautiful wife and your family. And I'm so excited for our interview on April 9th through 11th for Perfect Practice Live. So thank you. Thank you.
And that's what we'll be doing. The heart in the head of each one of those 4 steps. So just like marketing, we know the truth of the services that we're offering. So instead of in the head, sales and marketing, how to express your heart in attraction? How do you express your heart in delegation, in boundaries, in communication, in all of those areas, but from a tactical standpoint that has been proven to scale practices, just like you help people strategically implement the heart and mind things that show up in all areas.
I love it. I'm so excited. I could talk to you for an hour, dude. Like, I could just keep going, but I know you're busy, so I'll let you get you back to your day and keep changing the world, my friend. I will see you in a few weeks. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for everyone that tuned in. Got lots of epic comments coming in. Tyler says hi. Tyler Lewis, our friend from Mindshare. Andre says hi. Carol's loving this. She's like such epically beautiful flow. Liana is loving the information as well. So you've continued to make an impact. Lots of hearts came in during this awesome
Thank
interview.
you,
So thank
everyone.
you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. Go there, show up, tell your friends, tell the world. Heart, head, doctor of the future, freedoms. We all have the ability to have it all. And I couldn't think of a better group of professionals you brought together to make that happen. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right. Thank you, my man. Talk to you soon.